You're a startup founder. You think your product is amazing and feel like more people should be buying, but the road is long and slow. It feels like you're stuck. There's always one thing I ask startup founders. Have you talked to your customers? They almost always say, heck yes, we talk to our customers all the time. But what I find is they're either selling or trying to improve their product. These are not customer-focused conversations. If we can get curious about our customers, then we can uncover critical insights that will help us build to the next round. I'm Anna Firmenov, and welcome to Building with Buyers, a show about startup growth where I'll explore how customers help startups build to the next round.
So I listened to an interview with Simon Sinek this morning, which is a surprising thing to say out loud because I don't normally like a lot of what he says. I think it's very just like heady and advice on everything, right? Very generic. But he got at something really important about AI, and it's really applicable to marketers, which is it gets you the result. It is make me an email. I have an email. Make me this. Create an asset. Give me an outcome. And there is no journey anymore. We don't know. Give me 50 subject lines of test. Make me 10,000 ads. Make me this. And the problem is, it's all derivative. It can only be derivative. It can't, even if you tell it to come up with a new thing and it says it's doing it, and you're like, well, that's novel to me. It's not because it's based on other stuff. The second thing is you don't get that process of, well, why is this good? Well, that's where the prompting comes in. You prompt it. Like people are trying to become these like prompt wizards. If you can prompt it to do all the right things, like you should probably do it. You can do it yourself. People can kind of tell this whole idea of like, well, people can't tell when it's AI. And I get that. Like it's a tactics debate versus a quality debate. Jay Akunzo says that a lot. And if it's good quality, it's good quality. But I think that people get pissed off when they find out this is an AI email with an AI subject line and an AI this and everything's AI. And nobody at our company gives a shit about you enough to care about marketing to you. When you pull the rug out from under people and you're like, oh yeah, these are AI into clay tables, into Zapier, into all these other, this crazy processes, and the API talks to this and that. And basically we don't even think here anymore. We just have like
tools.
Go-to-market engineered this wild process where we can just print money. I think people don't like that. I don't like that. Like when I get an email from somebody and there's 6 M dashes in it, I don't care if you were just the biggest M dash fan in the world. I loved using them. I thought they were cool. You know why they were cool? Because nobody used them. Nobody used this whole thing. Like people love to comment on LinkedIn, like, oh, everybody does it. Journalists do it. And I'm like starting to see them in like old books and stuff. And I'm like, oh, neat. But it was rare. So it was weird when you used an M dash of like, what's that bigger dash? That's neat. Now that there's 6 times in every email, I don't care if you didn't use ChatGPT to write it. It feels like you didn't. It makes me feel like you didn't care enough to write an actual email to me.
That's interesting. So you think that if we find out that if it's really obvious that it's AI that's writing these emails or that it's AI that's creating this content, then we feel like the person behind it or the company behind it doesn't care about us enough.
Or if your manager is using it to do your performance reviews or in any sort of human-to-human connection, it might have seemed cool or it's even worse when they're like, we can hyper-personalize this. That's even worse because now I just feel like grossly manipulated, right? The same way we feel like I get emails of like, hey, saw you commented on this person's LinkedIn post and thought maybe you were looking for solutions about this. It feels stalky. It feels weird, right? Simon gave the example of, you can talk to ChatGPT and be like, hey, I'm dealing with this problem with my spouse or my partner, and it's really hard, and I'm trying to think of how to respond to them. And it gives you the response, and you say it to them, but it's perfect. And anybody who's ever been in a relationship with any other human knows that human responses are not perfect. And when it is perfect, you kind of go, I don't know about that. That's interesting. I really appreciate you saying that. How did you get there? Now you're fucked.
You're like, I don't actually know.
ChatGPT is running my relationship. The whole point is to get some sort of engagement out of them. It's all the AI comments that people leave on my posts, and I respond to them and they never reply because the point was not to start a dialogue or build a relationship. It was just to get the comments out. I hate that so much. But it's all of this stuff. It's the cold emails. It's like, well, when I reply to you, then all of a sudden you're like, well, you can feel them fumbling over their keyboard because they don't know what they sent. Now, all of a sudden, they're having to do that stuff. And the whole idea of like, well, we'll have AI do that too. I mean, good luck. I like being sold to by humans. I liked that I bought a box seats at a Savannah Bananas game. And that is a huge monetary investment. We don't got it like that in the Hufford house, but we do like to ball out sometimes. And I like talking to Matt on the phone. Matt, the sales guy, was great. The guy who sold me Chicago Fire soccer tickets was awesome. I liked talking to them. I liked having a human where I could go back and forth with them and be like, hey, can we get this? Can we do that? What about this? Sure, AI could do some of these things, but I think we still really like engaging with humans.
I would much rather finally get a cold email that says, I don't know that much about you. I don't really know how to I don't use any of those tools, but here's what I do know. Like something that kind of connects on a different level than.
And then people will be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, what are the 5 disarming things I can put at the beginning of every email? We're gonna split test those. It's just, I really do think like, if you're in marketing and sales, part of you has to inherently like being involved with other humans. And I think when you're trying to remove that as much as possible for scale, efficiency, whatever, I just wonder if that's the right direction. And so far, we see a lot of like neat things. We see a lot of neat output. We don't see a lot of neat results.
Yeah.
Because I think people are scared to say it.
Okay, where do I go with this since we started on a tangent here?
No, you're good. You're good. It was a cold open.
Brendan Hufford is the founder at Growth Sprints. I wanted to start off the conversation in a little bit of a different way. Usually I say that right away, but like, hey, why not just chat a little bit?
I like the cold start.
You like that? Yeah. So with Growth Sprints, you're helping to take SaaS companies from 10 million to 100 million ARR. Easy peasy.
Yeah, no big deal. Casual, super casual on a Tuesday, right?
Yeah, super casual. Using the SaaS Growth Sprint Framework. All right, so you can increase revenue from Google through these short focused sprints. I just want to say, like, sometimes it's hard being someone that works with companies and has clients and showing proof, right? Showing proof can come in different ways. It can be financial, like you're going to increase your revenue. It could also be the proof of a benefit that has to do with more emotional stuff, organizational stuff. There's different ways to show proof. But I think that your content really hits well because you show a lot of charts. You show a lot of data. You're like, this is actually, if you do these sprints, this is where it's going to get you. And you can actually see the impact. I think that's really, it works, So.
I got lucky that I coached a bunch of agencies early on. I got brought in one of my mentors who really helped me get started. Brought me in because I just kept telling him like, hey man, I did what you said. Here's the results. And he was like, cool. And that would earn me. This is like my hack for getting mentors too, is first of all, don't ever use the M word. If you ask somebody to be your mentor, it's oftentimes like, that's too heavy and stuff. But if you ask somebody a question and they give you advice, you go do it, you come back to them and say, hey, I did it. Here's what it got me. You then earn the right to ask more questions. And I built this relationship that way to the point that when he was training a bunch of agencies, he's like, could you be my lead coach? You're the best case study. You do everything. So my website, the brand, everything was very much built to be, here is the exact template you follow and all of that sort of stuff. And I wanted to create an overwhelming feeling of like, so a couple of things, like the positioning, we can dig into that. I'm sure you have strong feelings about it. Just the way the website's laid out, the fact that I have a framework, the fact that when you scroll, it's not meant to like read every single chart or graph. It's just meant to be like, oh, he's done this a bunch of times because I have. But it's about creating that feeling of like, oh, this is not new. It's not just one time at one company, that sort of thing. So it's all pretty intentional.
I love it. I think it goes beyond testimonials because I've got multiple testimonials on my site, but it goes beyond that. And it's like, well, let's look at like the actual data and a chart. And that's what people love to see, right? And like the up and to the right.
Yep. And I call it an overwhelming amount of up and to the right graphs.
Up and to the right graphs. Yeah. So, all right. We're both
Navattic Advisors. I think that's how I first met you. I think that's
Yep.
how we first got connected. And we're both building businesses, and you have way more kids than I do. But
You might be winning though. It might be like reverse.
I don't know. Some days I feel like I'm winning, some days I feel like I'm not. So on average, it's like good.
Yep. Yeah, I love it.
So I'm exploring the role that customers play in helping companies build to their next level of growth on the Building with Buyers podcast. I have found so far lots of really interesting examples. This goes beyond like being friendly with your customers. This goes beyond customer case studies. This goes beyond revenue that you need from having customers, right? There's a lot of cool things that companies are doing. And I think this is really especially useful to have this focus on customers, especially if you're early stage, but I think across all companies. So we will cover that stuff. But first, I want to talk about SEO because I think I have this conversation with people. I actually just talked about this on a different episode that I was recording today, how SEO has changed so much over the past year due to AI, and just like content has just changed. And so since you focus on SEO, I thought who better than to have you on and talk about where you've seen or where you've helped companies navigate this changing landscape with success.
So I have a very contrarian take on a lot of this.
That's why I love having conversations with you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm frankly like really tired of everybody cashing in on the impressions that they get on LinkedIn and the attention they get on, oh, this like hand waving, sky is falling crap. I'm trying not to be super cursy in the afternoon here.
That's okay. I can mark the episode as explicit.
Perfect.
You do you.
I'm really sick of all the bullshit that I read from all these fucking dorks where it's like, oh, this is because these SEO dorks have been doing this for a decade. Before it was AI, it was like, oh, the algorithm is always changing. They have cashed in on this idea of like, it's always changing. You got to pay somebody to keep up with the changes. That pisses me the fuck off because they're just doing it to sell 6 to 12 month retainers. And I wish as an industry, we saw through that a little bit better. The reason I run sprints is because you don't need an always on. We're not a family. You don't need a partner in the SEO thing like that. I have so many examples of like, you really can do this short term and let it be for a little while. With that said, this is like old news, same news type of crap. It's AI is the new Google algorithm. The algorithm hates us. That's why our traffic's down. It's again like people who suck at SEO being like, oh, the algorithm hates me. That's why traffic is down. Featured snippets. That's why traffic is down. Now it's AI. That's why traffic is down. Just say you suck at this. Just say you're bad. And the other thing is too, like, did we all abandon social media when reach went down? When Facebook went from 100% organic reach to 2%?
No, isn't that
Nobody
crazy?
left.
I also think about this. Why? Why did nobody leave? Why haven't I left? Why didn't you leave? Well, you're doing better than me. Maybe it has to do with 4 kids versus 2 kids, but
No, but like even on LinkedIn, like reach is down, impressions are down. Okay, cool. Well, we're not leaving. Like Google is maturing as a channel. And if you're an adult marketer, you realize this happens, right? It's not about the tools. The other thing is, and I think people confuse this with SEO, like you're a human-centered marketer. SEOs are not. Most SEOs are web developers cosplaying as marketers. They want to fix these problems with schema and updating like code on the website and doing, I read this post today, like, here's how we're doing AI. We're going to show up in ChatGPT. We're going to add table of contents and update our author bios and our schema and all this other. I'm like, dude, none of that sounds like you're thinking about humans. You're just thinking about your website. And that's the thing. SEOs are 2 buckets. You have people who are like human-centered. They understand business and copywriting and empathy. And then you have people that are like, fuck that. I want my keyword list and my schema, and that's it. And I push back on that other group a lot because they're just tweaking their website and then not thinking critically about whether things, same people who let their content strategy be a keyword export. They didn't talk to customers. They didn't look at sales calls in Gong. They didn't talk to their success and support teams. I call it the 3 S's, sales, success, and support. They didn't talk to any of those people. They just let keyword volume and keyword difficulty guide their strategy. They're the same people now that are struggling with this. I don't think this is real also. They're like, AI is taking over everything. And it's like, it's not, because they're not thinking like a human. Let's consider this scenario. Google, nobody clicks links anymore in Google, right? You know what else they're not going to click?
What?
The ads.
Yeah.
If Google trains its users to get an answer and not click anything, they're going to see their ad clicks go down. Give that 1 quarter, heads will roll at Google. They'll be like, screw it, we got to go back to the 10 blue links because that's when we got the most ad clicks. They don't care about AI. They're doing it to be defensive against ChatGPT. This is a purely like, again, we have to realize most of the stuff Google says and does, the whole like, oh, this is what we can know what the algorithm is now. Like, it got leaked. We have a really good idea. We always knew it was content and backlinks, but there's some other stuff mixed in there too. Most of what they say, all the smoke and mirrors they played for years with their algorithm was just to defend their stock price. That's all they're doing now with the AI stuff. OpenAI came out, ChatGPT came out, they saw their stock price dip and they're like, we got to make moves. So they made moves. But then ad revenue goes down, stock price dips again, they're going to make different moves. I just, be an adult. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody else here, but I do think like you can kind of see through a lot of this stuff.
You are, Brendan. That's the thing. You are.
I don't know, but like, I don't think I am, right? And it's like, I kind of also hold all these other marketers to the expectation of the CEOs read your stuff. This is a small rant. CEOs read your LinkedIn posts, not yours or mine, but all of ours collectively. And people care about getting the impressions and going viral. And what they don't care about, and this pisses me off also, is a CEO is going to read that and take it to their marketing team and be like, why aren't you doing this? This is what we need to do. It's this, it's this. We don't take responsibility for our content.
Yeah, it's putting out like the wrong mindset. I think a lot of it is just like, that's where it all starts. The wrong mindset.
And it hurts people. It hurts the people, whether you're a consultant or you're in-house or whatever your role is in marketing. It hurts. Like, there is actual harm being done by putting out callous, thoughtless, vapid, think boy posts on LinkedIn. Like, there is harm being done. So I take a lot of responsibility. Like, if I'm going to put something out, I always like have some sort of gut check of like, if this gets taken internally at a company, does this harm people? Does this make them look bad? I always like think I empathize with marketers. Am I attacking them in this post? And sometimes I am. And I'm like, all right, we need to like rewrite this, you know?
I know. But those are the posts where people actually will pay attention.
They will. If you're Chris Walker and you're like, all marketers are stupid and I'm smart and they're wrong. I mean, he can time travel, so he must have known.
So successful.
Yeah, well, for a minute, but then you can't get new business when you've said that everybody's an idiot for a couple of years.
Yeah. But then he said it and I was like, I am an idiot. Tell me more. and there is,
but you also have to have the solution for it.
Right.
And I don't mean to bag on Chris. I give Chris a lot of credit. He's super smart in a lot of ways, but people also forget, like, he has an engineering background. Like, that's
totally
also a lot of how his personality is, where it's like, if I think I'm right and you're dumb and wrong, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't move that way.
I think Chris and Refine Labs, when he was there, they all had the marketing fundamentals as their backbone. And that's why I liked them, because they were always around like, listen to your customers and you need to have this research and you need to understand pain points and like, why aren't you doing this? And
it was so novel, right? They're like, ask people how they heard about you. And everybody was like, really? We can do that? It's like, y'all.
Well, we look back on it now and we're like, that was novel. But at the time, everyone was like, oh my gosh, just add a form. And now we can find out whether our marketing is working.
We leaned too far. The pendulum swung too far into attribution software, you know?
Right. So going back to the original question, I think what you're doing now to help companies navigate SEO is probably what you were always doing. I don't think that your strategy has changed much. Am I right to say that?
When I think about search, my goal is to get you in the consideration set. I need to give your sales team or your product, if you have a more product-led growth motion, I need to give your sales team or your product an at-bat. I need to get you a trial. I need you to be like, all right, here, you're on my short list. So where do I need to show up in as somebody's learning about the category, as they're thinking of making a purchase decision, as they're going through the levels of awareness, right? Problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware, the Eugene Schwartz levels of awareness. Are we touching in all of those? Am I showing up again and again and again, even on our website, on other people's websites? And then how does SEO become a piece? I very much look at SEO as a distribution channel, not a goal. So, which again, I think is very different than the industry where they're worried about like rankings and stuff. I'm like, I don't care if the traffic fell off from this because our sales, it's an integral, this piece of content we invested in is an integral part of our sales cycle. Everybody who looks at this, the people we know that get sent this page, they have this close rate or whatever, like, or, this product adoption rate. Like that's stuff I care about more. And like, yeah, if we can also get distribution through search, let's do that. But I think in bets, and the more things a piece of content or a page can do for a company, the more confident I am in that bet. So as of right now, it hasn't changed a ton. I've also been looking at a lot of data from SparkToro, Rand, Casey, and Amanda over there of just like, things aren't changing that much. Like it's not that drastic.
I know. That's the crazy thing. You hear all these people like screaming and yelling like everything's changed, but then you look at the data and you're seeing that most people are still using Google for searches. And there's only like a small portion of people that are searching stuff in the AI platforms. And so that will grow, but it's not like tomorrow your business will die because you haven't figured out this SEO stuff. No, we're working on it. We're being strategic about it. We're not putting excuses down around AI and AI tools. And if we have that and have a good foundation, like marketing foundation and approach, then I don't think that we should be so worried about all the screamers out there.
I just think the game's changing slower than we would think it would be. If you were on LinkedIn, you'd be like, oh my God, nobody Googles anymore. Everybody's searching ChatGPT for everything. And people are like, well, ChatGPT also like cites its sources. And I'm like, do you click on those? Because if you clicked on their sources, you would be like, well, these are not good sometimes. Like they're pretty bad. Whenever somebody tells me like, oh, I just use ChatGPT for everything now, I'm like, cool, me too, for a lot of things, but I'm definitely going to use both. If I'm putting together a consideration set to make a considered purchase, which is, the level of business that I work, like I'm not selling, I don't even know, like Post-it notes or something where it's like, I don't care what company this is, right? I'm not selling commodity stuff. They're going to use both. They're going to make sure like their job is on the line, especially in B2B. Like they can't risk having the wrong thing.
Hey, it's Anna, host of Building with Buyers. I started the show because I found that customers play such an important role in business growth, but they're often overlooked. We're so focused on net new. But the thing that makes you unique is not your product. There are so many companies solving the same problem, and they have customers too. The thing that makes you unique is your superfan customers. That's your moat. Most positioning and messaging is guesswork. I'm a customer insights and strategy advisor, and I help my clients by interviewing their customer superfans and translating those insights into clear and compelling positioning and messaging that specific people care about. So you get deeper engagement with customers and prospects, increased inbound to demos, better sales conversations, increased word of mouth, and closed deals. If you're done guessing, stumbling along, and want to be more customer obsessed, reach out. I'd love to help. And now, back to the episode.
Even with my customer research interviews, I do the same thing I always did, which is I will go through, I look at I highlight stuff, I comment, I think about it, like what's important, what's not. I find the insights myself. And then I feed the recording to ChatGPT and I ask, what are the insights here? And then I kind of compare, and I will never do just one or the other now, right? Because now I have access to this tool that can also, they complement a little bit, right? It's like a check. What did ChatGPT think about insights? And how does that relate back to mine? So, all right, that makes sense. You are awesome. I wanted to ask you about customers, right? Just a little bit about customers. You work with a bunch of companies, you like a lot of them, because you do these sprints and your stuff is just like fast, right? You don't do 6, 12-month retainers. And so How have you seen the companies that you work with, or maybe examples elsewhere, maybe on LinkedIn? How have you seen them incorporate customers as part of their growth efforts? Have you seen anything cool?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. One is I'll give you two. Let's like make this really tactical. Like people can steal these plays. Most of my work is in content. So that's where you're going to see like a lot of this come through. The first play is interviewing their customers more long form to pull out behind the scenes insights, like the stuff their customer wants to know. This is very true in B2B, especially where we're kind of drowning in this how to content, how to do this, how to do that. I don't think we need that anymore to our discussion. ChatGPT can tell me how to do stuff, right? I can be like, give me a 90-day plan. You're an expert in this. Give me 90 days to become a master in it. And it'll do that. It's kind of scary good at a lot of those things because it's already stolen all of our content. But the thing that we're missing is the like how I or how they type of content. I watched Lenny Rachitsky do this really, really well with Lenny's newsletter where he would go behind the scenes. He's a product person. He was at Airbnb and they never got visibility. You could see the product, but you're like, how did you arrive there? How did you make the decision to make the product do that? So he went behind the scenes and he went up to like the CPO level, Chief Product Officer. And he started writing these newsletters. They were always the same freaking questions. How Miro builds product, how Notion builds product, how Figma builds product. And you're like, I was like, this is so simple and so genius. I ran my first experiment. This is how most of what I do with clients starts is I do it first. I ran like how Company gets customers, how ActiveCampaign gets customers, how Help Scout gets customers, how Sendoso gets customers, how Navattic gets customers. I think Natalie was like one of my first or second interviews. And it was all like, what does the team look like? What do your meetings look like? The stuff you only care about if you're a VP or CMO or a lead director, right? But there's nothing else out there on it. There's no content about like, what should your cadences look like around this or that, or who reports to who? Like there just wasn't that. So all of a sudden I noticed CMOs are DMing these things to each other and I'm getting weird feedback of like, hey, so-and-so sent this to me. And I'm like, I look up who that person is. I'm like, I don't know that person, but they're a CMO at a cool company. And they like, this is happening. Companies, my clients start doing those things, right? If you sell to salespeople, how Gong sells, how Microsoft sells, whatever. If you sell into HR, like how company does HR, and you can start by interviewing your own customers. I don't have data on this, but I'm very convinced this also increases like customer retention and stuff like that. It does business things too. But from a content perspective, it's so nice. I would love it if like Riverside, where we're recording this right now, reached out to me or you and is like, hey, how are you using Riverside? Can we promote you to our whole audience of your peers? Yeah, great. I would love to tell you how these weird, unique ways I'm using your product, right? Or the weird, unique ways I run my business.
Yeah. Well, Riverside, to your point, they did in January like a content repurposing webinar, and I was in it and Emily Kramer was in it.
Yeah.
And there were 3 of us and we got to talk about content repurposing. So I think like, yeah, it's so smart. I love this. And I love this idea and how you can apply it no matter what industry, whoever you're selling to, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you run your development teams? How do you run DevOps? Like just like give them that, but find that behind the scenes stuff that matters a ton, but it only matters to a small group of people. And then, like what if Ramp came out with like how like company runs finance? Like all of that sort of stuff is super interesting. But if you're a individual contributor, you maybe don't care. If I'm writing blogs at ActiveCampaign, I don't care what the team structure is or whatever. But if I'm the CMO of ActiveCampaign, I care what are all these things. So that's like play one.
I love that you also real quick mention like it's for a small group of people. We don't talk about that enough. We're like, did my reach get to as many people as possible? How many opens did I get? Like, did I get 80%, whatever it is, right? Like we focus on the quantity and it being super high. And I'm starting to realize over the years that that's not the goal here. The goal is not to have your reach be high. The goal is to actually resonate with so that they do something. That's the goal, not to reach as many. So yeah, I just like that point. Go ahead.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, 2025, my impressions are down. My leads are down. You know what's up? Revenue by a lot.
See?
We forget what the goal is. You can lose sight of those things and you can run yourself in circles and be tired and sad and hate your job. So I think about that stuff a lot.
Totally.
Second play is simply, so the first is like small group, right? Interview one person that's your IICP, your ideal customer or client profile. Get those insights, how they content. The second one is to run larger surveys. I think Databox did this masterfully. I think Pete started it, and Pete Caputa and John Bonini ran with it for a while. They still do it really, really well. It's easy because they market to marketers, so I don't want anybody to throw out this advice just because you market to a different segment or maybe even aren't B2B. But surveying your audience and surveying them and asking them polarizing questions to create marketing moments is highly underrated.
Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this, Brendan, because I've been thinking about the state of report, the state of customer research, the state of discontent, for example, the state of, and that kind of, I think that's also similar to what you're talking about. Like, this is research that you're doing and you're trying to create these narratives that pop out depending on the questions that you ask and how they relate to each other. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
So I think there's two ways to do it. There's one where, like, I love the first ever one that Navattic did with Chili Piper, where they were like, hey, we reached out to all these companies. 20% got back to us in the first 24 hours, and then nobody else did. And we were like, every marketer on the planet just went, thank you. Sales doesn't follow up with the leads. We have data. Fuck the salespeople for me. The leads aren't good. You don't even call them, dog. We have proof now. And that was so helpful. You know how many board decks that graphic was probably in? And they can't track that. They can't enrich that. There's no attribution for it. But they made something like, so that stuff, I love like doing things. That's maybe not like a customer piece, which is where I'm leaning more, but I love those. I will say also, state of things definitely work in that we're asking people, and it doesn't have to be like a definitive guide. It could just be like, here's something we're talking about. It's just, we're doing an article about this, then we're doing an article about direct mail, then we're doing an article about field marketing. Whatever. But asking questions where it's like, I use this example a lot of, Databox once asked a question, how often do you use data to make your content decisions? Well, the short answer is 99% of marketers use data, right? But 1/3 of marketers, 1 out of 3 marketers, always uses data. 2 out of 3 sometimes use data. Again, that's boring, right? Okay. But if you present it right, it becomes a marketing moment where it's like, can you believe only 1 out of 3 marketers always uses data? People are going to go, yeah, that's insane. 2 out of 3 marketers are dumb. But I'm part of 2 out of 3, and I go, what happened to taste? You don't need data if you have taste, if you know what's good, right? Musicians don't use data to make their music. The best of them don't, right?
Yeah.
Some probably do. But like all of these different things, and it's all of a sudden it becomes a debate and it becomes a marketing moment. And we've pulled our customers into it and we've cited them and quoted them, and it makes our content way better. It helps that the company grow. Because if you're reading an article and it reads like it was written by like Derek, the first-year marketing intern, what if it was written by Derek, the first-year marketing intern, but there were 7 quotes from CMOs in the article? All of a sudden, the credibility goes way up. If you sell to CMOs and you feature them in your article, or you sell to whoever, chief HR officers, CHROs, that's a really effective way also to bring customers in and then fuel your own growth by just going, look at how great they are. That works.
Totally. I love these examples. Yeah, I think that these are like really nice playbooks that you shared, like tactical.
Too tactical?
Never too tactical, okay. Brendan. No, I love that. I want to talk about a LinkedIn post that you put out, and I want you to help me understand it because it piqued my interest. You said you find your brand in the pattern of what your best customers say when they're pissed, proud, or paying. What do you mean by that? I mean, anytime I hear best customers, I'm like, what, where, what should I be paying attention to? So here, you're saying you find your brand in the pattern of what your best customers say, and in those 3 different ways. What do you mean?
So I think about brand as what people say about you when you're not in the room. That is the word of mouth brand. It is your true brand. It is not your colors or your logo or anything like that. And it is the brand that you actually have despite all of your branding documents and what product marketing says you have. In those moments, when they are pissed, proud, or paying, they have made some sort of decision. They're pissed off, something's wrong. They're either pissed off with a situation they're currently in, they are pissed off with your solution, they are pissed off with you. Those are the moments where, if you're lucky, they'll tell you. And that's the best. That's honestly a gift. I do client work, so it's a very human back and forth process. When people tell me they're pissed with something that's going on, it's almost never with the work itself. It's with other things. It's comms, it's this or that. I have to listen because that's my brand. That's what they're carrying out into the world as people ask them, hey, do you know somebody who can do what Brendan does?
Wait, your clients get pissed at you about like something? Wow.
Yeah, right? Who knew?
Who knew?
But it's important to take note of those things. Like, that is your actual brand, right? And not just pissed with you, but again, like pissed with circumstances, status quo, their job, anything, right? Being nervous about the future with generative AI, like all of these things, being nervous about tariffs or something. You have to take note of those things. And you're like, all right, can I be a part of these things? So these are also things we want to pay attention to. The second one is proud. When people are proud of their accomplishments. I work primarily in B2B, so they're proud of their accomplishments in their career, how it's changed their lives, small things that they've done. Pay attention to that, especially if it's related to the work that you do. It is really important that, I work primarily with software clients, that they have some sort of ability inside the tool to show what they are proud of. Too many tools make it really hard to show their boss, to show their peers, to show whoever work that they are proud of. I did this great thing, and sure, I can say this went up 47%, but is that value visualized in the product? Do I have this? Could be a dashboard, it could be whatever. But we've all seen the screenshots of how pipeline is tracking in Salesforce. That's visualizing the value of your work, right? Every tool needs something like that, where it visualizes the value of it. So then they're allowed to tell you when they're proud, and you can see things that they're proud of. And then paying, I think, is obvious, but sometimes we forget. We think that we need to address all of these things before people pay, especially if you're running any sort of SaaS and it's a subscription. Like, every time people pay, every time they renew, when they sign a contract, whatever, we have to be really paying attention to what they're saying in those moments around, call it a sales process, but it could also be product-led, any sort of like activation or monetization. Like, what are they saying in those moments?
You mean like the journey? They went from non-paying to paying. Like, what?
Yeah, or I'm renewing.
Yeah.
Why? What made you make that? Like, trying to figure out and treat it like a forcing function to find out what's going on. Why did you decide to do this? Give them more chances to give you feedback. I think sometimes we get a little nervous, especially around paying. We're like, just sign the DocuSign. I don't care.
I don't care why you're doing it. Just do it. Yeah.
Yes. Sign this thing. And I don't want to talk to you because I'm nervous I'm going to screw it up, But you'll find things out. The more opportunities, I was joking the sales process. When I build scopes together with clients, I show up with my best guess, and then I'm like, we build it together. And I'll always ask them, I'll say, is this the most perfect scope you've ever seen or what? And usually gets a chuckle or something. But then if I can keep my mouth shut, which is hard for me, if you can't tell. If I keep my mouth shut, they'll tell me some really interesting things in that moment, right? Because they're making a paying decision. Do I want to buy this thing that I just helped build?
Yeah. Do they go, no, this is actually not the most perfect, and here's what we would want to change? Is that what they say?
Or things that they're still wrestling with come out. Well, I love this, but I'm not sure how I'm going to communicate it to my CFO, or, we just really have to lock in. I'm not sure we're going to be able to execute. Like, all of a sudden now, okay, cool. We're back in problems, and I'm still listening. But the problem is, unless you sell for yourself like I do, marketing's kind of siloed from a lot of those conversations. You're not around. You don't handle pissed people. Support does that. We don't handle proud people. That's customer success. And we don't handle paying. That's sales or product. It's the 3 S's: sales, success, and support. Why do they get to have all those moments? Why doesn't marketing also get those communications? So it's I guess maybe the main takeaway is you have to have some sort of, call it a forcing function or a system or process to get those insights. And it can't just be like, no, we meet once a quarter and we talk about it. I don't know what I had for dinner yesterday. Like, I honestly can't tell you. If you think I'm going to remember these like amazing moments 6 months later or every quarter if I'm a salesperson, when I go to talk to marketing, I'm not going to remember. All
So
I know is I made President's Club and I don't care anymore because it's working,
how do you get marketing involved in this? You're right. Like I totally now I see it as part of the company. This is the company. This is all the different departments, but this also ties into your brand and insights. So how do companies get marketing involved at these different junctures?
There are a lot of like human ways to do this, right? We call them meetings or whatever. And, you can build a culture around it. I think those things have to happen. I think that's table stakes. Another great use of a generative AI or something like that, or just simply taking like call recordings and piping them over to marketing. If there are Slack channels where this is something I've like helped some of my clients figure out, have a Slack channel for every support call, every customer success call, every sales call. And not just like, well, when we close a deal, it sends through the salesperson's notes and they can read that and say, sure, cool, still on the human process. That's the middle of the Venn diagram. But I want to get all the way over to this other end of the spectrum where it's like, I have a live feed of conversations that happened today. And I can go through all of them and be like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't realize we're competing. I've seen this new competitor that I've never heard of pop up 6 times. Well, I'm not even going to ask anybody. I'm just going to make a competitor page for them because people are probably Googling it. If it's coming up on sales calls, the SEO tools aren't going to tell me to do it because that data is 6 to 12 months behind at best, that clickstream data that they buy from everybody's Chrome extensions. I'll just make that page. Great. But I'm getting all of that information. I'm staying close to the customer. I'm just such an advocate of marketing being the closest to the customer. And we're really like last on the list.
Head of customer, right? There should be like head of customer, and that should be, I feel like I've thought about this. That's a title it would just be easier to then be so close to the customer if we just had that title, head of customer, but we don't have that. We have like head of marketing. What does that mean? Could mean 1,000 different things depending on what you're doing, depending what company you're at, depending on what you're selling, depending on your sales motion, right? But head of customer is so clear.
God help any company that ever hires me if I ever go in-house and I'm the CMO, because I will be hell-bent on being the customer whisperer in that company. There will be nobody who is closer. I don't care if the founder's been working on this for 35 years and they are an industry veteran. Like, nobody will be closer to the customer than I will. Everybody will come to me and be like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. You know them better than anybody. What do you think? Like that, I will be that person.
That's the goal. I wish it was just so easy though I feel like we're just these companies are in these silos. So it's so difficult to have like, okay, sales just had a call, like put it in the Slack and call some pieces out like, hey, this was interesting and this could be useful for you marketing. Or customer success had a conversation. Think about all the conversations that these teams are having, right? And how difficult it is that's why I come in and I help companies talk to customers. I talk to the customers and I ask them the questions because it's like, you guys had all these conversations and they're all over the place and nobody's sharing anything. So that's what I do. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And that's how it ties in.
Just try to take it off their plate too. Like leave them with some systems of like your gong calls now pipe into Slack. Your support tickets now pipe into Slack. Like it'll pull summaries of like, hey, today there were 73 support tickets. It's in these 5 buckets. Here's what we were able to resolve the fastest. Here's the ones that are still open. Here's some like language that feels really important where people were either pissed, proud, or paying, right? All of a sudden, now we have good frameworks to just get all of that to marketing. And not just marketing, everybody should see that stuff.
Everybody.
Right? It's uniquely valuable to us. We're the ones who set it up, but it is valuable to everybody.
Yeah. Brendan, I wanted to ask you because you're here sitting with me, we're chatting, and you have a business, I have a business. I have a lot of things to still learn and change and do. And so I wanted to ask, like, if you were me, what would you do differently with my company? There are so many things that I would do differently. Actually, can I tell you real quick that lately I've just been thinking about customer-led growth and specifically a sprint. you got me inspired with your sprints. I don't run sprints. Suddenly, I'm actually working with a client. We're thinking about something around sprints to offer as an extension of something that they're doing with customers, which is so cool. So I've had sprints on my mind. I've never done this. I've always been retainer, or I've always tried to like run things and retainer, definitely not hourly. But sprints is interesting because it's like a fast thing. People like fast things. Look at AI and AI.
Well, it's
like,
also
cut out the
definitive,
process.
like we are going to accomplish this work and then we will be done and you will be happy with this outcome. Like it's, I hate it. Like the retainer thing is hard sometimes depending on how you structure it, just because it's like, what are you going to do in month 4? And you're like, I don't know, but I'll find some work to do. Yeah, you're going to find some work to do, dude, because I'm paying you. So you better find some work to do. But like maybe we don't find work to do. Maybe we know now what we're going to do, right?
Yeah, totally. So I've just been thinking about sprints and specifically for me, customer-led growth sprint and having an offering like that. But that's separate. If you were me, what would you change? What would you do differently?
So I think 2 things. One, I think when I come to your website, you have 3 CTAs for book a call above the fold and a button for contact, which to me means the same thing, just slower.
No, contact is just you have something you want to ask. Because I get folks that want to get on the show. So they'll like fill something in and
Interesting.
yeah. Contact is just like you can send an email.
Good for you. I just treat those people like, I don't know, find it yourself. I just want you to book a call and be a
That's
client.
a good point.
'Cause I want money. But I think also tell people, give me more outcomes of like, here's what I've done before and after, especially if you're talking about messaging and positioning, like give me those side by sides. I think Fletch does this really well. I also think they just like put their pricing like right below their hero, which I think is dope. Tell me how much you cost. I have no idea if working with you is...
You have to scroll down. Yeah, it's in the FAQs.
Don't make me search for that.
I know.
At the very least, put it in your form where it's, before I can say yes, I'm committing to something.
Yeah. To make it clear.
Yeah.
I really like the side by side. I've thought about that. The work that I do is more than just here's what your positioning was or message, and here's how I changed it. So to me, it's always felt like that's just not enough to showcase my impact. So that's hard for me because I'm not like Fletch. I don't just like take a landing page and then go from like this to this.
Tell me, but that's what I get from the hero on your H1 on the homepage.
Yeah.
Into simple positioning and messaging. Okay, cool. You do positioning and messaging. Cool. You're like Anthony and Robert. You're like April Dunford. Got it. And if you do more than that, tell me more.
I actually do the research. So I'll spend hours with customers and I do the research calls. And so it's not until down to the customer insights roadmap where I talk about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So phase 1 is where I do the research and I pull out insight.
I like that. There's a lot of confidence. The way that I built my website is very much, and this is just, again, my opinions on things and only because you asked. Give me in the header, like I help this type of company achieve this kind of outcome. That's really, really helpful, especially since we want to be more than just, hey, I provide this service. If you're like, hey, I get these outcomes, give me that up top. Visualize the value of that. Show me like when I do these things, what is the outcome? Is it more revenue? Is it more customers? Is it higher activation rates? Like give me that above the fold so I get it really quick. I like that you also have a framework. Don't bury that underneath. Show like, I have a way that I do this. I get these results. I have a way that I go about this. Here's how I do that. That also gives people confidence of like, okay, they've been here before. They have a system that they run. They're not just winging it, or at least like I have the confidence that I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think those are like the biggest, easiest things.
Yep. And then add a sprint.
You absolutely can. Like even if you work on retainer, having sprints within that is really like when I was in-house, that's where that all came from. Was I was in-house at Active Campaign and I was working with my boss, Benjamin Elias, and we made a spreadsheet and I was like, here's what I'm going to do. It's not checkbox marketing. Here's all the opportunities. I found this thing. I found this thing. Oh my God, while I was working on this, I found this other thing. He's like, cool, put it in there. Let me know how long it's going to take. What's the outcome? Keep rolling. And I found so much interesting stuff that just everybody had been checking boxes for so long. Nobody had like looked at things. Those internal sprints became that, which became then growth sprints.
Oh, interesting.
But it also gives you a good like beginning and end of like, hey, we did the thing. This is, and calling it, like formalize it. Like I'm sure you do interviews with customers, right? Be like, this is the interview sprint. I'm going to do this. And at the end, we have this thing. And at the end, you double overhand high five. And you're like, yeah, let's celebrate. Like we did that. That was good. Let's move on to the next sprint versus just like, okay, see you next month. Pay the invoice. You know, it just feels like drudgery after a while.
Yep.
But the sprints feel like, all right, cool. We're just doing like back to back.
We got to a milestone. Yeah.
Yep. Milestones are super
I
important.
love that. Thank you. Brendan, you're awesome. And I was going to ask you what's been challenging for you. Maybe I can help, but we can do that offline because we're over time. But Brendan is on LinkedIn. If you want to find him, he's there. Brendan Hufford. He posts every day, even on the weekend. And if you want to check out Growth Sprints, go to growthsprints.co. And Brendan, you're awesome to hang out with. Thanks for all you do and everything you bring into the industry.
I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Building with Buyers. New episodes drop weekly, so make sure you're following wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on LinkedIn, Anna Furmanov. Visit my website to learn more about how to turn customer insights into positioning and messaging your buyers will understand. FurmanovMarketing.com. And don't forget to leave a review if you're loving the show.